watching Cron On, streaming now from Cron 4, the Bay Area's local news station.
We are just about 3 months away from Governor Gavin Newsom's recall election, and another Republican is throwing his hat into the ring. California Assemblyman Kevin Kiley announced his candidacy on Twitter yesterday. He's been a vocal critic of Governor Newsom, specifically his handling of the pandemic and the current state of emergency. Assemblyman Kiley joins us now. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Now, as I said in the intro, you've been critical of the governor for some time. What pushed you to finally join the race now?
You know, I've been part of the recall in sort of, I would say, you know, supportive role for quite a while, but it's really the citizens of California, you know, thousands of people, eventually 2.1 million signatories who made this happen. And I've said, you know, I want to support the movement however I can and play whatever role will get it across the finish line. And so I've gotten, you know, over the last few weeks and months, feedback from thousands, tens of thousands of people from all across the state that this is the right way to do it. And that this, you know, as by being a candidate, we can get the movement across the finish line and implement the sort of fundamental change that California needs in order to reverse our state's long-term decline.
Now, the election date has been set for September 14th, so just about 3 months, that's the time period you have to campaign. You don't think it's too late to kind of campaign everything you want to do and everything you want to give you know, if you were to win within those 3 months?
Well, it's undoubtedly an extremely compressed time period. And in fact, that's the result of chicanery at the Capitol, where Gavin Newsom and his allies did a sort of bait and switch. They said, we're going to drag the process out. We're going to have a late November election. Then suddenly they changed the law, and he signed a bill to change the date for his own recall to speed it up, to try to give his challengers less time. But, you know, all of that being said, I mean, the recall is a movement. It's, you know, something that isn't just a political campaign, and it's been building and it's been growing. It's been channeling the discontent and the desire for change for months and months and months. And I feel like our campaign is really inheriting all of that energy and that enthusiasm. And so I think that it's not like we're starting from scratch by any stretch of the imagination. We just set records for the grassroots number of donations in the first day from individual citizens, donors from across the state. And I'll add this, you know, as well, that I think that there is some benefit to a short campaign, because it provides sort of a short time frame where we can really fix the public's attention and have a coherent conversation as a state and a great debate about the future of our state. And so that's what I'm really looking forward to over the next couple of months, is asking the question, why is it that we sacrifice the most in California, yet we get the least in return? Why is the greatest state in the country now the state that so many people can't wait to leave?
Now, without agreeing or disagreeing with the way that Governor Newsom has handled the state during his time as governor, you sued Governor Newsom last year for his pandemic-related policies. The pandemic is something that no one in our lifetime pretty much has faced. If you were to have been governor during that time, what would you have done differently?
Well, gosh, I mean, where do I even start? I think I would have, you know, for one, followed the science. Unfortunately, this governor very quickly started disregarding sound science and public health guidance in, you know, favor of politics and rewarding his special interest benefactors. Maybe the clearest example of that is with our schools. California has been last in the country, 50th out of 50. In getting kids back to the classroom. And we know that's because the governor's biggest campaign donor, the teachers' unions, wanted him to do that. And so I would have made sure that I approached our response to COVID-19 in a way that was meant to serve the people of California and to serve the public interest, and that was respectful of our institutions, our democratic institutions in this state. Because the governor has maintained that he gets to have absolute power, essentially, during a state of emergency, which he still refuses to end, even though the state of New York even has ended its state of emergency. And so I would have tried to approach our response in a way that was served the public interest and respected our democratic traditions as a state. And, you know, I think that our state government has not been abiding by those principles for a long time now, but it's just that Gavin Newsom during COVID-19 has sort of brought it to an all-time low. And I think that's why you're seeing this movement for change in California gain the momentum that it has.
So do you give Governor Newsom any credit at all during his time as governor?
Any credit at all. I mean, I'm sure he signed, a few bills here and there that I would agree with. And I actually, in all seriousness, when you look back at my initial response to COVID-19, I was one of only 3 people who spoke on the floor of the assembly the day before we adjourned for 7 weeks. And I said that we should trust in Governor Newsom's leadership. I said we should listen to his guidance. I said the politics of ordinary times, the partisan rituals of ordinary politics have no place in these extraordinary times. And so I did everything I could to try to work with the governor on a non-political response to COVID that would save lives and that would put our state in the best position to get through this. But unfortunately, the governor absolutely refused to work with me or really anyone on any of that. He decided to take matters into his own hands, and he used our response to this pandemic as a political opportunity to try to promote his own agenda and to try to serve the special interests that are responsible for funding his rise to power in the first place. And that's why I think this is a complete abuse of the public trust, and that there is ever, a reason to recall a governor. That is it.
Now, we have seen the pandemic kind of, I don't want to say fizzle out because it's still very much a thing, but kind of our restrictions have loosened in the recent weeks and the recent months. But the Delta variant continues to be a threat, especially to the unvaccinated population of the state. If there is a large surge, what would your plan be for the state, and would you be open to another shutdown?
Well, no, we've seen that the shutdowns, especially the way that Gavin Newsom did them, backfired. They actually made things worse. California has, among the lower, age-adjusted COVID mortality rates in the country, and I believe we're currently, have the 5th or 6th highest excess mortality rate during the COVID era, which is a measure of how many more people have died than usual from COVID and from other causes. And a lot of public health experts specifically lay blame on Gavin Newsom for implementing lockdowns in an irrational fashion, like, for example, banning things like outdoor dining that basically no other state did, imposing things like curfews that force people indoors into shorter time frames. So I think that, we need to do everything we can to make sure that we don't have, any more exposure and to limit it insofar as possible. But there's absolutely no reason to repeat the mistakes that Gavin Newsom made over again.
So what would you do? Like, what would you say is a solution or some steps towards, kind of backtracking if there is a large surge due to the Delta variant? Again, the entire state, while we do have a large number of vaccinated people, we still don't have everyone vaccinated, or at least everyone that's eligible vaccinated. What would be what would be a solution that you would implement?
Well, I'm not sure that anyone is expecting there to be a huge surge because of the natural immunity as well as the vaccination rates that exist. But I think that, we all have plenty of experience now living in the COVID world, and we have, points of comparison that we can look to. We can look to states that did it right, states like Florida, for example, where kids were in school last year, a year longer than California kids. And, they did no worse than California kids when it came to public health. Or Florida's economy was open, and yet Florida has done better than California in mitigating the spread of COVID-19 when you adjust for age demographics. And so I would, defer to the common sense judgment of ordinary Californians and everyone on our state, the people of California, who are very familiar with this virus now, who understand how it's transmitted, who understand the risks, and are perfectly capable of making their own decisions about how to protect themselves and their families.
Now, on to another topic that's become a big issue here, specifically in the Bay Area and really across the state. Crimes like gun violence, sideshows, and thefts have been plaguing much of the Bay Area lately. In Oakland, there were 7 shootings just on July 4th. The police chief there has been citing a lack of funding. What's your solution to keep the public safe in light of everything that's been going on?
Well, it's an important observation because crime rates have been going up. And I think that, this is sort of the price that we're paying for a number of misguided measures that have passed our legislature, that have been signed by the governor, and some unilateral actions taken by Governor Newsom himself that have moved away from a public safety oriented approach to criminal justice and have moved towards something that isn't really grounded in, in any principles of justice, or for that matter, in reasonable principles of rehabilitation. We've seen a lot of changes that have actually made our communities less safe and, deprived offenders of the sort of rehabilitation programs like drug courts that they need in order to get their lives back in order. And so I think it's just another indication of the declining quality of life in California, why for 170 years this was a state that kept growing and growing that everyone wanted to come to. And last year under Gavin Newsom, for the first time in 170 years, our population declined, and by 182,000 people. It's all because of these policies that have created a state that simply is not one where many people feel they can, any longer live out the American dream or the California dream. And of course, there are a whole host of other issues that play into that, the affordability crisis being foremost among them. But I think it all speaks to the desire for a totally different direction in California. And that starts with a politics that actually is guided towards serving the people of California.
There's so many issues that I want to bring up with you, but one specifically Governor Newsom was talking about this morning, homelessness, those that are unhoused. That obviously is an issue in the state. It continues to be. Thousands were placed in housing through the governor's Project Home Key initiative. If you were to become governor, would you continue that particular program? And if not, do you have a specific plan to combat homelessness?
Well, because the governor hasn't shown us that it's really doing any good. And all he's really done is continue to throw more and more money at the problem. In fact, in this year's budget, there's $12 billion more just kind of thrown out there at homelessness. And the governor's own mental health czar, his top mental health official, said that the homelessness issue is not a money problem. He said it's a leadership problem. He specifically said it's a leadership problem at the state level. And so I don't think that we need to simply be spending more. We need to actually be taking a data-based approach to homelessness to look at what are the interventions that are needed in order to transition people out of homelessness and prevent them from falling into it in the first place. And of course, it's a very complicated issue, but I think that, the idea of just sort of giving someone a hotel room right away and hoping that that just kind of magically solves the problem, there's just no data to support that. What we have seen data support is making sure that there's a roof over the head of every person, and that there is a place that they can go, and then to provide the necessary support that is necessary, whether that's drug treatment, whether that's mental health treatment, whether that's job training. And then there maybe can be some inducements along the way. Maybe you can get a hotel or a nicer accommodation if you demonstrate progress. But the governor's approach of just sort of granting that right off the bat seems to simply be using public funds without any sort of evidence that it improves the life prospects of the people we're trying to help.
I mean, it's no doubt that the issues, the governor and whomever, replaces him, if he gets replaced, the issues are all very, very complex. Now, you announced that you are going to run, recently. What makes you different? You're one of several people running as a Republican against the governor. What makes you different than, let's say, the other candidates in the pool?
Well, look, I think that as far as the other candidates go, we're all on the same team. Anyone who's running in the recall is by definition looking to remove Gavin Newsom and to, change politics in California. So I don't have any criticism of any of the other candidates on the ballot. I will say that I've been in the legislature for 5 years, and I've been fighting to try to, change the culture of corruption that characterizes politics here and that is responsible for, the decay of our state in many ways. And so I know exactly what needs to be done to actually uproot that corruption and to start doing things differently. And that starts, by the way, with the way that we fund politics in California. I'm the only elected official at the state level in California that takes no money from special interests. Every other legislator gets hundreds of thousands of dollars from lobbyists whose offices are right across from the Capitol every election. Gavin Newsom's got tens of millions of dollars for them, and it's no wonder these special interests basically run the show at the Capitol. I see that every day, and so that's why I became the first legislator who said I'm going to be 100% citizen-backed, and I think that if we could get others in our state government to adopt that approach, that mentality, to actually, make government of, by, and for the people something real, then that's what it's going to take to change California.
Assemblyman Kiley, a lot of candidates kind of tour, during their campaign. They make campaign stops. Are you planning on doing any of that?
Yes, absolutely. So we're having a big kickoff rally at the Capitol this Saturday at 10 a.m. And it's going to be on the west steps of the state capitol in Sacramento this coming Saturday. And then I'm holding a series of other rallies like that all across the state. And I'll say, by the way, that this is, after I've already held I think well over 50 events by this point for the recall. When it was in the signature gathering phase, I went around the state and held a lot of events with volunteers, with folks in different communities to promote the recall itself and to get it qualified and on the ballot. And that, is that experience, really was, I think, a big part of getting me to the point where I am today, where I think that, I understand how we can get this movement across the finish line and translate sort of the driving spirit behind it of seeking change for the betterment of California and to restore government by the people, how we can actually make that a reality.
All right. Well, Assemblyman Kiley, is there anything else you want to leave our viewers with regard to your campaign?
No, I think you hit upon all the key points. I think that this is going to be among the most important next, 70 days that we've had in California's history. And we really can address the issue head on of why has California been failing? Why is our state declining? Why is the state where everyone, what used to be the state where anyone could get ahead, the state that so many people now can't wait to leave behind? Why do we pay the highest taxes yet drive over the deepest potholes? Why did we have the worst lockdowns and yet have among the worst public health outcomes? In short, why do we sacrifice the most as California citizens and yet get the least in return? And the answer, I know from my 5 years in the legislature, is political corruption. We have a state government that simply doesn't serve the people of California, doesn't serve the public interest, and this recall was our opportunity to change that.
All right. Well, Assemblyman Kevin Kiley, the latest to throw his hat into the governor recall election ring. We really appreciate your time. Thanks so much for joining us today.
You bet. Thank you very much.